Hey there. In today's video, I solved the Day 2 challenge, reviewed the improvements to the environment, and reviewed topics of the Day 1 challenge. So the first thing I should mention are the changes to the aesthetics of the programming environment and to the web page itself. It makes it seem like and look like we're not just redoing the same challenge over and over again. It's great that this time around, instead of being in space, we're now running an election campaign. Overall, I appreciate it. In regards to the actual programming environment, they've greatly enhanced our ability to troubleshoot. We actually have a console area now that tells us why our code did or didn't run. It gives you the ability to console log variables, statements here or there. You can see what your program's actually doing instead of just running it and getting a pass or failed message. Even after you've submitted your code successfully, you're still able to run your code or run additional code. Maybe you've gone onto the forum, you've seen a better way to program and to design your solution and you want to run it again to see if it still passes the test, you're now able to do that and as a result modify your code and save it for the next challenge. Now I want to take a moment to comment on the Day 1 challenge. I've been programming for some time and I sometimes take concepts for granted. In this case, arrow functions. After reading the forums, I can see that some people had difficulty with the way that this question was scaffolded out for us. So if you take a look, this is an arrow function. Now, if you've been programming for some time, you might be used to regular functions, something like this. This is basically a different way to write this. Arrow functions and regular functions aren't exactly the same. The differences are really a more advanced concept. I just recommend treating them as being exactly the same. So the cool thing about arrow functions is that you can really narrow them down and type less code as a result. In this particular case, you can see that I omitted the brackets that you normally have just after this arrow right here, and I've also omitted the return statement. That's probably not for today's lesson, but it just gives you an idea of how we can use arrow functions. So with that said, let's tackle day 2 of the Lighthouse Labs 21-day coding challenge. Challenge number 2, something to talk about. Thanks to your tireless volunteers, the word is out that you're running for a second term, and the local media has come calling. The Lighthouse Gazette wants to interview you about your campaign, but you're a nervous interviewer. To help prepare for your interview, you want to use JavaScript to practice campaign stance on important election topics. The list of possible question categories include arts funding, economy, and transportation. The instructions are, given a question topic, complete a function interview answer topic that returns your stance on the particular election issue. The answer should be returned as a string. When asked about arts funding, the function should return, "We'll have to get creative." When asked about the economy, the function should return, "Time is money." When asked about transportation, the function should return, "It's going to be a long road, so we better get moving." If you're asked about a topic that isn't on the list above, respond with a default statement, for example, quack. The example takes an input of a topic that's equal to economy. The output is time is money. Another example is where the topic is equal to transportation, and the output is it's going to be a long road, so we better get moving. So I'm going to speed up things as I go ahead and tackle the challenge and try to solve it. There are a couple things that I want to note when you're programming, and if you come across this symbol or this symbol, it's just a notification. It gives you a hint as to why your code might not run well. You can click on it and then you'll be able to read a message, figure out what's wrong with your code. You'll see that when I first started coding this, I started using if statements. Nothing's wrong with if statements. I could have carried that through. In fact, I test the code and it works well. Afterwards, I switched to the switch statement, and even though I didn't know the syntax, I looked it up just by doing a quick Google search. The reason I prefer switch statements over if statements is that when you're using if statements, you're comparing the same variable over and over again, whereas the switch statement lets you type out the variable once and then do the comparisons in line. I think it's a little bit more readable. It's less lines of code overall, and I think it's just a tiny bit more elegant. And there we go. We have the solution for the day 2 challenge of the 21-day challenge by Lighthouse Labs. Like on day 1, I'm going to update the GitHub repo. I'll link that down below so that you can see the code for this day 2 challenge. Hope you enjoyed that video. See you tomorrow.